In 2022, we will experience the first Pluto return for the United States, when Pluto returns to the same position it was in when the country was founded. Pluto, as the farthest planet in our solar system, has the longest orbit of all the planets. It takes approximately 246 years to return to the same position in the heavens. This upcoming Pluto return sequence is a once-in-a-lifetime event. It will be a quarter of a millennia before it happens again. Let's first take a look at Pluto. In a mundane chart, Pluto signifies mass psychology and power. It has to do with regeneration and transformation. If it's favorably aspected, it shows where improvements and better organization can come about. Pluto often shows where there are complications. If it's afflicted, it may indicate social upheavals, power struggles, terrorism, or corruption. Pluto is going to bring a revolution of sorts. It seems that whatever the intention was that was set for the country when it was founded, it's going to be revisited. One of the topics that astrologers love to debate is which natal chart to use to represent the United States. The one used most commonly is the US Sibley chart. It's based on a date of July 4th, 1776 at 5:10 p.m. in the city of Philadelphia. Natal Pluto is found in the second house of the US Sibley chart. The second house is a house of values and resources. In a mundane chart, it deals with financial systems and money. Things like the US Treasury, capitalism, the national budget, banking systems, financial systems, and the people's money and wealth are all considered second house matters. Natal Pluto in the US chart is in the sign of Capricorn. Pluto in Capricorn deals with extreme materialism. Pluto in Capricorn energy is like Saturn-Pluto combination, since Saturn rules Capricorn. So in the political and economic astrology that we call mundane astrology, you have this Saturn and Capricorn energy, which is related to the established power structure and the ruling elite. On the positive side, Pluto in Capricorn deals with the power of business and transformations needed to make advancements and achievements in practical ways that will reach a much wider world. However, on the negative side, Pluto in Capricorn can signify planned, organized, and purposeful criminality, the worst abuses of power and corruption. I like to use keywords to illustrate the characteristics of Pluto in Capricorn in the second house. The first column of keywords deals with keywords specifically about Pluto, the planet. Things like creating change, rejuvenation, manipulation, healing, crisis, transformation, criminal behaviors, death and rebirth, issues with control, extreme secrets, and abuse of power. Capricorn represents political success, power struggles, ruling classes, corporations, recession, worldly position, law enforcement, economy, jobs, business affairs, government agencies, national affairs, heads of government, and national ideals. The second house, our house of money, deals with the US Treasury, banking, wealth, price stability, the people's assets, capitalism, the banking system, cash flow, currency, financial institutions, and business finances. To understand what Pluto and Capricorn in the second house represents, you blend these keywords together, and it gives you a better idea of that particular energy in the US natal chart. Since we have never experienced a Pluto return before, Let's look at the energies of the recent Pluto-Saturn conjunction. Since Saturn rules Capricorn, the energies will be very similar. This conjunction occurred on January 12, 2020. It was very powerful because it also included the Sun and the planet Mercury. At a very high level, we're dealing with powerful organizations, including leaders in government and business, and the media, involved in massively transforming society. In addition to all 4 planets being in Capricorn, this conjunction occurred in the 12th house, which we will look at in more detail on the next slide. The 12th house is the house of many themes. In a mundane chart, some of those themes deal with charity, hospitals, mental health, large institutions, welfare systems, spies, secret cabals, conspiracies, prisons, treason, subversion, and public utilities, which are underground and unseen. This energy reached a peak in 2020 when Saturn was conjunct Pluto in Capricorn on January 12th. On January 9th, the World Health Organization announced that a deadly coronavirus had emerged in Wuhan, China. The origins of the coronavirus are frequently associated with medical issues, which is appropriate. However, there were other things going on at that time which had an influence on how this whole virus rolled out. Issues that were influenced by Capricorn and Pluto. The World Health Organization announced on January 9, 2020, that a deadly coronavirus had emerged in Wuhan, China. The Wuhan Institute of Virology had been doing research on coronavirus found in bats, so it was somewhat logical to assume that they might have had something to do with this outbreak. However, US scientists immediately claimed that the research in Wuhan had nothing to do with the outbreak of coronavirus in Wuhan, that the virus had occurred naturally. Almost 2 years later, this was disproved when it was confirmed that the NIH, DoD, and other US agencies had been funneling money through the Eco-Health Alliance to China for gain-of-function research to make a bat virus transferable to humans. This coordinated event may be responsible for massive loss of life worldwide. As I mentioned before, this will be the first Pluto return that the United States has experienced. It is a return, or a revisit, to where we were when the country was founded in 1776. One astrologer described the energy of Pluto as a force for creative destruction. That is a very interesting definition. Since this is the first time we will have experienced a Pluto return, the only way to get a sense of what is going on is to look at what other countries have experienced during their Pluto returns. These are some of the things that other countries have experienced: major changes in the laws, shifts in government structure, exposure of deep corruption, the need to heal the past, civil war and power struggles, conflicts with other countries, agreements and partnerships with other countries, leaving agreements and partnerships with other countries, changes or an overhaul of the banking or the economy, changes or an overhaul when it comes to big business, unconventional leaders, death or overthrowing of leaders, changing of allies, rising of independence, and rebalancing power dynamics. A few slides back, we looked at the keywords associated with Pluto in Capricorn in the second house. Let's revisit that a little bit more succinctly now. Pluto represents the point in the country's chart associated with power, transformation, death, rebirth, and upheaval. Pluto in Capricorn represents the country's government and business enterprises. The second house represents the country's values, finances, and resources. Pluto in retrograde represents a return to the country's values and ideals at the time of founding. Transiting Pluto is best described as earthquake energy, shaking the foundations of our very lives. This transit will show us what structures have become too weak to survive, which ones will remain standing, and what new ones need to be built from the rubble of the old. The average American has been feeling and will continue to feel the transformative power of Pluto transit in their homes and personal finances. For the U.S. chart, using a conservative 2-degree orb, the effects of the Pluto return will be felt from January 2021 through November 2024. So this Pluto return will impact the entire 2021-2025 presidential term. So what are some of the issues we need to address in this Pluto return? What are our country's values? What do we actually stand for? What are we willing to fight to protect? How should our government be structured? How should the country's finances be organized? And what role does private business play in our country? This is one of my favorite paintings by Renoir. It's called The Luncheon of the Voting Party. And whenever I think about the Age of Aquarius, I think about the age of the common man, and I see average people out having a good time together, socializing. Very Aquarian activities in a pleasant environment, a little group of people having fun. So how do we reconcile, as astrologers and metaphysicians, how the Age of Aquarius is involved in all of this Pluto Capricorn energy that we're dealing with now? Let's look into that just a little bit more. One of the things that astrologers love to debate is when exactly did the Age of Aquarius start? For artists, I actually think it began several hundred years ago, when art began to reflect individuals more than heads of state. I think there have been a series of dates, and so I view the Age of Aquarius as a series of steps that we take to move into that type of energy. One of the steps occurred last year. There was a great conjunction on December 21st, 2020. This happened to coincide with the winter solstice and initiated the next 20-year Jupiter-Saturn cycle. This conjunction was in the element of air at 0 degrees Aquarius. Additionally, Pluto will leave Capricorn and pay a brief visit into Aquarius from March 23, 2023 until June 11, 2023. Then finally continue its uninterrupted 20-year sojourn through Aquarius after January 21, 2024. This is the Jupiter conjunct Saturn chart that occurred on the solstice in 2020. And you can see here that the conjunction occurred just after it got into the sign of Aquarius. Again, I see the transition into the Age of Aquarius as a series of steps, and this definitely had an energetic imprint on where we're going. Many who embrace metaphysical beliefs view the Age of Aquarius as a golden age of spiritual advancement, total equality, and unparalleled achievements for humanity. It's referred to as the age of freedom, peace, and the water bearer. It represents the highest vibrational energy of the Aquarian age. However, there is a dark side of Aquarius as well. Cold and calculating, subsuming individuals for the sake of the group, groupthink, and turning freedoms into mandates or structures. Aquarius also rules the 11th house, which is the house associated with socialism and communism. Remember that the US natal chart has no planets in the 11th house. One of the issues that our country is facing today deals with what system of government we wish to have. Our country was founded as a democratic republic. It was the first of its kind, an experiment really in the democratic process. Our economic system is capitalism. Based upon a free market, it was distinctly separate from our system of government. If you think about it, even our system of government has distinctly separate branches: the judicial, the legislative, and the executive. This maintains a separation of powers so that control does not rest in the hands of only one group. Our economic system is a second house issue. Pluto, which represents the masses, is in the second house of finances. So the people's money and assets are all second house matters, as is our economic system of capitalism. The US chart has no planets in the 11th house. Many are pushing the country towards socialism. I think part of the appeal is the perception that an Aquarian-based 11th house system is the next enlightened step we should be taking. However, that assumption is based upon everyone participating at the highest vibrational level of Aquarius. I'm just not sure we're all there yet, which opens the doors to the lower vibrations of groupthink and turning freedoms into mandates and structures. And the lower vibration of the leaders, the greater the downward slide towards communism, another 11th house system of government. Both of these forms of government control the economic system. Instead of a free market system, it is a political, policy-based system with all the power in the hands of the leaders. Just to reiterate, the U.S. was founded with a separation of economic systems, capitalism, and governmental systems, a democratic republic, and that this separation of powers has previously been a major factor in our country's success. Pluto in Capricorn fosters secret deals between international corporations, government entities, and the power elite. These energies have threatened what was once a thriving free market economy. This Pluto return needs to right that ship and get it sailing straight again. In May, I released a video on the Neptune opposition. The first one occurred on May 1st, 2021. Also, this is another once-in-a-lifetime event. If you haven't listened to the Neptune opposition video, I would suggest you stop at this point and listen to it. While I was preparing this talk, I noticed the resonance between Neptune and Pluto. I called it the dance of the outer planets. You can't really assess the impact that Pluto return has without looking at the interplay of the energies created by the Neptune opposition. It adds a dimension to the analysis that makes the whole thing make sense. I'd like to discuss it a little bit more. Pluto and Neptune are locked in a dance that lasts almost 500 years and then repeats. A dance that has been going on for 4.5 billion years. Pluto is in a 2 to 3 mean motion resonance with Neptune. So for every 2 orbits that Pluto makes, Neptune makes 3. This is the only stable resonance in our solar system involving 2 planetary bodies. That stability is one of the reasons that Pluto and Neptune don't collide when Pluto periodically moves inside the orbit of Neptune. The last time this happened was between February 1979 and February 1999. The chart shows how the resonance pattern works. You'll see that for the 3 cycles of Neptune and the 2 cycles of Pluto, the complete together is almost 500 years. The US Natal Pluto at 27 degrees Capricorn 33 minutes will be experiencing a historic conjunction with the transiting Pluto when it makes a direct hit. Pluto returns typically take about 246 years, give or take. So for the United States, this is the first Pluto return ever experienced. This means that Pluto will be returning to the same position of the zodiac where it was when the country was founded. This exact configuration will occur 3 times: February 20th, 2022, July 11th, 2022, and December 28th, 2022. To review the Neptune oppositions, the natal Neptune is at 22 degrees Virgo 25 minutes, and it is experiencing historic oppositions by the transiting Neptune at 22 degrees Pisces 25 minutes. Since Neptune oppositions take about 165 years to occur, the United States has only experienced a Neptune return once before. Historically, the last time this transit occurred was on January 4th, 1859. It was the beginning of the Civil War. This exact configuration occurs 3 times: May 1st, 2021, August 21st, 2021, March 1st, 2022, and then on December 3rd, 2022, the transiting Neptune reaches 22 degrees Pisces 39 minutes and misses an exact opposition by a mere 14 minutes. I found this fascinating, so I started looking at the Neptune oppositions and the Pluto returns and mapping out their patterns. And I noticed there were several points where the dates were quite close, within a few weeks of each other. The first one will happen in February 2022, and then the second one will happen in December 2022. This pattern is partially responsible for a blend of energies that we see going on between the power structures that Pluto represents and the illusion and delusion that occurs with the planet Neptune. We've been living through the energy of Pluto and Capricorn for over a decade. Pluto forayed briefly into Capricorn from January 2008 through June 2008, and then on November 28, 2008, entered Capricorn for its long journey through that sign. Pluto started off with a bang. The United States had just elected its first African-American president. One of his slogans was, "Change we can believe in." But despite the hope that Americans had for this historic election, it gradually became apparent that our government agencies, corporations, and our position in the world were in a state of transformation. One that showed signs of the lower vibrations of Pluto and Capricorn, with abuses of power, criminal behaviors, and issues with control. Not the creative, regenerative change we had all been hoping for. Many Americans lost faith in the ability of the government to perform its most basic functions. Now we are in the midst of one of the most historic planetary transitions in our country's history, Neptune and Pluto. The key energy in the Neptune opposition is the opposing Neptune in Pisces in the 3rd house, adversely impacting the natal Neptune in Virgo in the 9th. Illusions and delusions were created by mainstream media, social media, and newspapers from the 3rd house, opposing the 9th house matters of the judicial system, the Supreme Court, laws, trade, immigration, borders, universities, commerce, political propaganda, and social change. Without seeing through the haze created by the Neptune opposition, it's difficult for many Americans to really understand what is happening. The key energy of the Pluto return was the force of 14 years of Pluto and Capricorn hitting the United States' second house. That house deals with our monetary systems and the financial stability of the people's money and assets. It also deals with capitalism, our economic model. I find it interesting that the culmination of Pluto and Capricorn will be the Pluto returns for the United States. Ironically, I think that the US Natal Pluto being retrograde may be our greatest advantage. While many people fear retrogrades, especially ones in Mercury, keywords like return, remember, and revisit give me confidence that this Pluto return sequence will restore the country to its founding principles and the great American experiment will continue. So what can you do with all of the confusing information that's coming down from the Neptune opposition and the power struggles and activities with the governments and agencies that are occurring from Pluto in Capricorn? Well, this is my advice. Stay informed. Share information and network with friends. Stay engaged. Tell your elected officials how you feel. Support candidates or groups that support your views. But most of all, stay positive. There's an old expression in the theater called Deus ex machina. It is when they bring in a third party like a god or God himself, or the cavalry comes to provide an unexpected out for the plot. Maybe they're in an impossible situation and then God comes in and saves the day, or the cavalry comes in and saves the day, or someone they didn't expect comes in and it fixes the problem. I'm not sure that we're going to have that. I think a lot of people hope that the Age of Aquarius will make that happen. But I do think that if we do these activities that I'm encouraging people to do, that we will survive and we will get through all of these transits, as difficult as they are, and we will be better off in the long run. Thank you very much.